You're listening to the Balanced Educator Podcast, episode number 24.
Welcome to the Balanced Educator. We're your hosts, Kaylee
and Josiane from EduCalm. Our intention is to equip and empower you to feel more calm, balanced, and joyful in all aspects of your life.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Balanced Educator Podcast. If you're new to the show, welcome. We are so excited to have you here. We invite you to subscribe so that you can connect with us every Monday when our new episodes come out. And if you listen every week, or maybe you're currently binge listening to the show, welcome back. And thank you so much for sharing your time with us. Also, we want to take a second to say thank you so much, you guys, for leaving us reviews on iTunes. When you rate and review the show, it helps other people like you to find and benefit from the Balanced Educator Podcast.
And this week, we'd like to thank JC, who wrote, "I love this podcast. I often listen to it in the mornings while I'm getting ready for work or driving to work. I appreciate so much that there are resources for both French and English and that it works for a lot of grades. I teach French immersion kindergarten, but I told all the teachers in my school, K to 8, to check it out."
Awesome. Thank you so much, JC. And thank you for sharing the word. Word of mouth is so important. And I know as a teacher, if someone would tell me like, hey, you have to check out this resource, it's so helpful. That's really more what would make me use that resource than like taking the time to sit down and Google these things, right? So thank you so much for sharing this with your colleagues. Now, if you haven't already rated or reviewed the show, please take a minute to do it. Super easy. You just go to the iTunes app or your podcast app. You search for the Balanced Educator Podcast, and then scroll to the bottom, and it will give you the space to write a review. Thank you very much. It only takes a couple seconds, but we appreciate it so much. Now, in this episode, we're super excited about this one. We are sharing 5 ways that self-care makes you a better teacher. Now, I think a lot of teachers struggle with self-care and taking time for themselves to fill their own cup. So we are going to take any notion that you might be feeling about maybe self-care is selfish, or I shouldn't be taking time for myself. And we're going to tell you 5 ways that it's actually going to be better for you and your students. Now, before we dive into the episode, we're excited to share a book that we love with you. If you've listened to our episodes with Keith McPherson, then you probably already added his book, Making Sense of Mindfulness, to your summer reading list. His book breaks down mindfulness into easy to understand and implement principles. And we love how Keith makes mindfulness feel super easy and simple. This book is perfect for anyone that's new to mindfulness, and also anyone that just wants to dive deeper, or maybe, try out some new practices. If you want to grab a copy of Making Sense of Mindfulness, just go to www.educalm.com/Keith. EduCalm is spelled EduCalme. When you purchase Keith's book from this link, it actually helps to support the Balanced Educator Balanced Educator Podcast. At no extra cost to you. So thank you so much for anyone that has been purchasing the book through that link. I think you're really going to enjoy reading this book this summer. All right. Joe, you ready? Should we get started?
Ready.
All right. So I just said that self-care isn't selfish. Can you elaborate on that a little bit, Joe?
When we take care of ourselves, it's very simple. We have so much more to give to others. So it's actually so selfless to take care of ourselves first, so that we have the fuel, the energy to give to others and be our best selves around others. It's as simple as that.
Yes, absolutely. I realized how important self-care was when I was like in burnout. I was teaching, it was my first couple years, and I just got to the point that I was so burnt out that I was like, okay, I need to start doing things to refill my cup, to refuel, to re-energize, because I recognized that I just wasn't taking my best self into the classroom anymore because I was just so tired. And it was such a revelation to see that when I was taking care of myself, wow, I'm actually such a better teacher.
Yes.
It really changed a lot. And then that changed my perspective and went, okay, instead of self-care being an afterthought, something that I do when I'm feeling burnt out, what if I be proactive about it? What if I take the time to care for myself every week? And then that turned into, what if I take care of myself every day? What if it's the first thing I do in the morning? And that's when I saw such huge shifts in myself and in my students. It was a really interesting thing to see how it affected my students.
I think that often we have so much guilt around taking care of ourselves.
Yeah.
And really, it's so important for our well-being and, like you said, for our students' well-being.
Yeah. I don't know why we all feel so guilty about taking care of ourselves. That would be like feeling guilty about taking the time to literally fill up your tank in your vehicle so that you can drive to work. That just seems insane to feel guilty about filling your tank so that you can get to work. But for some reason, we don't see it that way when it comes to filling our own tank.
But today we are going to break down the guilt barriers.
Absolutely. We're going to give you guys a new perspective so that it doesn't make you feel guilty. It actually feels good and exciting and like an important part of your day.
So what is the first reason why we should practice self-care, Kaylee?
So the first point is that it makes you calmer. And when you are calmer, you're going to see that reflected in your students. So, Joe, have you ever had a time where you've been just having a bad morning, you're feeling really tired, feeling frazzled? What does that translate into for your students?
So, the worse it gets, the worse it gets. The better it gets, the better it gets.
Yes.
So, if I, on days where I would show up to school that way, or days that I show up to this job that I'm in now, all frazzled and just not feeling my best, that's reflected in the people I'm working with.
Absolutely.
Which would have been my students last year, and their energy starts matching mine.
Yeah. Yeah, when you get there and you're frazzled, all of a sudden you have meltdowns left, right, and center, and it's like the exacerbate or the frazzled feeling you have just shows up in everything you're doing. I've even gone so far as noticing that on days that I'm feeling really stressed out or feeling really rushed, technology stops working for me.
Seriously, isn't that so funny?
I mean, okay, I could actually get into the quantum mechanics of that. There are studies that have shown that when people are frazzled and they're really stressed out, that technology actually doesn't work for them. It actually creates glitches in the technology itself. That's so crazy. But if anyone's interested in getting into quantum mechanics, which is the physics of things that are smaller than the atom, some crazy stuff happens. But so it's true. When you are feeling overwhelmed, the people around you mirror that. And just think about it, okay? If you are feeling good one day, everything's good, and then all of a sudden you have a friend or a coworker that comes in and is feeling really stressed out, doesn't it make you start feeling stressed out?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is something that I read about a lot in The Whole Brain Child. It's Dan Siegel, right? The author?
That sounds right.
But they talk about how mirror neurons it's a real thing. It's science, and you could probably explain it better than me. But kids actually reflect the adults that they spend the most time with, which is parents and teachers.
Exactly.
So if we portray a certain energy or we give certain examples of how to act, they are going to reflect that. So if we're frantic and our energy is all over the place and just things aren't good, they are going to feel that and they're going to embody that as well.
Yeah. So I'll do a really quick explanation of mirror neurons.
It's always better if you explain it.
So basically what they've discovered in the brain is that, so say for example, I am eating a really juicy, delicious apple. While I'm eating that apple, there's going to be certain neurons in my brain that are firing in response to this experience I'm having. Now, the interesting thing is that in humans, if I am watching you eat a really delicious apple, those neurons that would fire had I been the one eating it are firing. So, you know, when you're watching like America's Funniest Home Videos or something like that, someone gets hit in the stomach and you can like physically feel it in your body.
Well, you actually go, oh, and you put your hand on that spot on your body that got hit.
Yes. Yeah. And that's because of mirror neurons. So when our brain is putting ourselves in the shoes of the people that we are interacting with. So when you are coming into the classroom feeling calm, your students, their brain is literally going to be firing in a calmer way because their brain is always kind of mirroring the things that you are doing and the things that you're demonstrating, the way you're holding yourself, the way you're carrying yourself, the way you're acting. And, you know, try this out as an experiment. Like just notice how you're feeling. How do the people around you respond to that? How are they acting? And you start to notice that the better you feel, all of a sudden you seem to always be surrounded by people that are in a good mood. And when you're feeling really down, all of a sudden everyone around you seems to be really down as well. So really important for us to take the time for self-care because whatever energy we are bringing into the classroom is being reflected in our students. Whatever we are doing is being mirrored by them. So if you want to have a calmer classroom, don't try to figure out what to do to your students to make them calmer. Start off with yourself. What can I do to feel calmer when I arrive to class? And what can I do? And just notice how that affects them.
It'll be a domino effect.
Exactly. And it goes back to that you can't change others, you can only change yourself. So if you're noticing things in the people around you and your students that you aren't happy with, notice if you can change that thing in yourself. And then you'll just magically see it changing in the people around you. It's so interesting.
And just by having this self-care practice, you're going to notice that you're more calm.
Yes.
Ever since I started taking better care of myself, and that looks very different for different people, but ever since I started this practice, I feel so much calmer in my life. So, and that was totally reflected in my students.
Absolutely. So I'd love to know, let's do a little quick overview if people are like, what's self-care? And you said it can be different for everyone. What are a couple self-care practices that someone could do in the morning before going to work?
They could do a quick meditation, like 5 to 10 minute meditation or longer. For me, lately, it looks like going for a run first thing in the morning outside. Can mean doing some yoga first thing. It can mean watching something funny on TV or watching a funny YouTube video. Just something that's just going to like relax you and make you feel calm, essentially, right?
Yeah. I was just thinking recently I got a new face lotion and it smells really, really good. It's from Sweet Spirit Apothecary. She makes all of her stuff handmade. And so I've turned just putting lotion onto my face in the morning. It doesn't take more time, but instead of just slathering it on and not thinking, I'm like really massaging it into my face and enjoying the experience. So maybe it takes half a second longer or 1 second longer, but it's just enjoying the thing that I'm doing instead of rushing through it. And that can be self-care.
And that can also be like mindful eating in the morning. Just eat your cereal more mindfully. That can be a quick self-care practice that doesn't actually take more time because you have to eat anyway, right?
Yeah.
So kind of slowing down, right?
Yeah, exactly. Or maybe it's even like splurging on, instead of getting the cereal that's on sale, like get the cereal that's really tasty and a little bit more expensive. Maybe you're spending a couple more dollars. But if that becomes like a really joyful, appreciative, gratitude moment in the morning for you, like I love cacao nibs and they're pretty expensive, but I invest in them because I find that that's an investment in my self-care.
So
I
good.
love them. So good on top of cereal or anything, really.
Okay. Anyone who hasn't tried them, do it. Cacao nibs.
Yeah, it's like the part of chocolate before they turn it into like sweet chocolate. So it's like it's bitter, but it has like
it's delicious.
So good. Just try it. Go try it.
You can put it on top of literally anything.
Yeah. So good. So number 1, self-care makes you calmer, and that makes you a better teacher. Number 2, self-care gives you the space to respond rather than just reacting. So, Jo, can you explain that one?
So when you take care of yourself, you have that self-care practice, you feel calmer. And when you feel calmer, you can take things slower, one step at a time. And instead of reacting when things go wrong, like in the classroom with your students, you have that little bit of space to choose how you're going to respond to the situation. So you have a moment there to choose to respond calmly or more frantically, or, start yelling at a student or whatever. You're creating that space to respond to the situation. Did I explain that well?
Yeah, it did. And so it's this one is a tailwind of the first point, but if you're calmer, you're a better teacher. When you're calmer, you're able to respond more mindfully and compassionately to your students when difficult situations arise. And let's be honest, teachers, it's every day. It really is. You're putting out fires every single day. And when we take the time to fill our cup, when we are feeling good, we are in the best state that we can be in to be able to respond kindly and compassionately. Instead of when you're at the end of your rope all the time, then when something difficult arises, it's really hard to respond in a calm way because you're so frazzled already that you're just going to react to it. You're not going to take that space. But when you're taking the time in the mornings or the evenings or whenever your self-care practice works for you, it just helps to bring that. I almost think of it as like a temperature thermometer. That's what it's called, a thermometer. It's like instead of starting at really high up, 30 degrees Celsius, you're starting at 0 degrees and you've got some room to move up and down the scale instead of always being on the edge.
And this cycles back to the mirror neurons where because you're responding calmly to difficult moments or situations, your students will also respond more calmly to difficult situations or to big emotions that they may have.
Yeah. No matter what age your students are, they're likely with you all year long and they're learning a lot from you. And I would say, if you think back, I can think back to my grade 1 teacher. She was so awesome. And I have no idea what she taught me. I can't remember a single lesson. But what I remember is that she had this calm, caring, loving energy that made me feel safe and comfortable and have fun. And that's truly what your students are going to remember in the end. It's how you acted and how you treated them and what you taught them about being in the world.
Yeah, being a good little person.
Yeah, exactly.
And growing into a good person. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
So number 2, space to respond.
Exactly.
What's number 3?
Number 3 is that when we take the time for self-care, it makes us more compassionate. So when we're actually taking the time for self-care, that means that we're taking the time to recognize what our needs are and to respond kindly to what our needs are. Now, when you get used to doing that, when you get used to taking the time to do that, you start doing that for others as well, but it starts with yourself. So if I'm checking in all the time and noticing, oh, I'm feeling really grumpy right now, oh, it's because I need to take some time alone, or this is the self-care practice that I need to do to help me get through this. Then when you see a student that's really grumpy, instead of getting mad that they're grumpy, you're going to realize, oh, there's a need that they have right now that isn't being met. And you just approach difficult situations with more compassion, with a readiness to support rather than react. So yeah, I don't know, that one, it's so important because so many of us don't take the time to recognize what our own needs are and then choose to meet those needs. Like how many of us are like, oh, I'm super tired, but I have to do these corrections before I can go to bed, or we put these have to's, these shoulds on our plate. And a lot of times the follow through of actually caring for our needs is tough. It's really tough. So just remembering that this self-care practice, it's not just for you. Like I'm caring for myself so that I can care for others, so that I can be the most compassionate version of myself for my students.
Which brings us perfectly to number 4, which is that you can't pour from an empty cup.
Exactly. So I feel like you should explain this because I just went to town on the compassion one.
So for this one, and I believe we have a whole episode on this. I can't remember which episode it is, but we can put it in the show notes.
Yeah, I think it's fill your cup first.
Yes.
But yeah, we'll link it in the show notes.
But if you're, and we already talked about it already a little bit, but if you're always running on empty, you have nothing to give to others. There's nothing left, and you kind of become the worst version of yourself.
It's really true. Think about yourself, just all of us. If you're not driving, close your eyes for a quick second and just think about the most stressed out version of yourself that you've been. And how were you towards the people in your life? Were you kind and gracious to your friends and family? Or were you snapping at them? How were you to your students? When you're feeling overwhelmed, you're just not a good version of yourself. And you owe it to your students to care for yourself so that you can be the best teacher for them. So sometimes we get caught in this trap of thinking that I need to do more for my kids. I need to be in the class longer. This lesson needs to be perfect. I need to make sure that this and this and this is done. And because we believe that having the perfect lesson is doing a service to our students. And yeah, that's true to a certain extent. But what's more important is that you're a good version of yourself so that no matter what you're bringing to the table, it's the best of what you can do, if that makes sense.
Yes. And I can think of times where I was really stressed out and I wasn't the best teacher to my students.
Yeah.
And sometimes, last year, I learned to just let go of the corrections and all of the extra things. I still did them, but just more mindfully, right? More intentionally. And I instead poured my energy into taking care of myself and being a good teacher to my students. So maybe the lesson wasn't perfect, but my students, I'm sure, learned more because I was more there for them. I was more present. I was there to answer questions, to help them, to move them through the lesson.
And in the end, it isn't just what you're teaching, it's how you're teaching it. I'm sure all of us can think back to a teacher that we had that really knew their material. They were a genius in what they were teaching. But that didn't mean that you learned from them very well. Like if they didn't connect with you, then you probably weren't really learning as much as you could have had there been that connection there. And when you were taking that time for yourself, it meant that you were able to better connect with your students. And that meant that they were more open to learn.
Yes.
So, Kate, another thing that just came to mind too is even when it does come to the corrections and stuff, those things need to be done. Report cards need to be done. Those things do have to get done. But when you are trying to complete those things, just think back to a time where you were super stressed out and you were trying to get your corrections done and you're like, I don't want to be here. This sucks. I'd rather be at home. You're thinking of all the reasons that you don't want to be doing what you're currently doing. Did you quickly get those corrections done? Were you able to get them done really efficiently? Probably not. It probably actually took you way longer to do those corrections than it needed to because you were in a bad state.
You're getting more and more frustrated.
Exactly.
As you're doing
so,
it.
Joe, what would you recommend to someone that has a bunch of corrections to do? They need to do it. How can they be the most efficient with it?
I would say take those 5 minutes for self-care first or longer. Go for a walk. Change your mind, bring positivity into your life, and then sit back down and do your corrections, because you're probably going to get those corrections done at twice the speed anyway. So you might as well take that time for that walk.
Exactly. Because in the end, if you take the walk and do the corrections, it's probably still less time than had you not taken the walk and you spent that whole time doing corrections.
Yeah.
So we practice this big time in our business at EduCom. We make sure that we're the best version first, and then we start to work. We even did it with this podcast episode. We were about to record, and then we're like, actually, we're really hungry, and we're probably not going to be the best version of ourselves while we're hangry. So let's take a break first and eat. So if you're running on empty and trying to get things done when you're not the best version of yourself, then you aren't doing your students or yourself any good. So in order to be the best teacher you can be, it's really important to take time for yourself. Now, we believe in this so much, and it's so important to us, and it's so big for what we want to share with teachers.
Seriously,
that
it's changed our lives.
In so many ways. And so we have created a summer course for teachers all about helping you to create strategies and habits and get into the routine of taking care of yourself before school starts. So that once school starts, you have these habits that are already ingrained that are going to take you through the year and help you to have the best school year ever. So this course is called EduCom Teacher, and we are going to be opening it up for registration at the end of July. So we will give you guys more information about this next week. Now, let's move on to our last point, number 5, why it's so important to take care of yourself because it makes you a better teacher, is that as you're taking care of yourself, you're learning strategies that you can share with your students. So do you want to elaborate on that, Joe?
So as you're developing your self-care, you're filling up your toolkit with all of these concrete ways to take care of yourself. And of course, as teachers, we want to share that with our students. So as we're learning this for ourselves, we're also teaching these concepts to our students. And we are, I wanted to use the word raising. We're kind of raising kids to be the best versions of themselves by giving them these concrete tools and strategies, by offering them a toolkit as well.
Exactly. As teachers, anything we learn in our life, we want to share with our students. So if you're learning to meditate, if you're learning about gratitude, if you're learning all these different strategies that we'll be teaching in EduCom Teacher, But as you're doing all of these things, it's just going to naturally move into the classroom. It's just like when you invest the time to take a professional development workshop. So say, for example, you do a professional development workshop on math. You take that time, you learn these new skills for yourself, and then you take that into your classroom, and now you're a better teacher for your students. You have these new strategies, these new skills that you can teach them. And like we said, we're not just teaching content to students, we're teaching them how to be good people and how to live good lives. And
isn't that the most important thing?
Exactly.
That social, emotional development, the mental health, that's the very beginning of everything else.
Exactly. Because we are going to be the best learners we can be when we are feeling good, when we're in a good state.
And we can't learn when we're not in a good state.
Exactly. So the number one thing before the learning begins is to get your students into a state where they're ready to learn. So when you're practicing this for yourself, you're learning strategies that work for you, and then you're going to share those strategies with your students. So while we're talking about concrete strategies, we have developed a workshop that we're so excited to share. It's a free live online workshop. And we are going to teach you guys our concrete 3-sided strategy. We finally came up for a name for it. We talked about it last week and we're like, we can't think of a name for it. But we're calling it the Mindful 3, which I think has a nice ring to it.
I love it.
So we're going to teach you guys the Mindful 3. So this is a strategy that Joe and I use literally every single day to help us reduce overwhelm and help us to feel calm and balanced. So when we talk to teachers, the number one word that they use to describe their school year is overwhelm. So we really wanted to support you guys with this and create a free training that is going to teach you exactly step-by-step concrete strategy for getting through the overwhelm and feeling better. So the cool thing too about this strategy that I really like, and I think the teachers are going to like this too, is it's not like we're asking you to like do a 30-minute thing in the morning. This is a strategy that you're just going to use naturally during your day. So it's just going to be infused like moment to moment when you're in an overwhelming situation, an overwhelming moment. You're just going to implement this strategy. It's going to take a second and it's going to help you to shift out of it.
It won't take any more time. That's what's amazing.
No. Yeah, exactly. And yeah, then it's probably going to be a strategy that you're going to want to share with your students. So you guys can register for this workshop right now. We have 3 workshop times that you can choose from. So the first one is Wednesday, July 11th at 7 p.m. Central Time. The second one is Thursday, July 12th at 12 p.m. That's also Central Time. And the third one that you can choose from is Thursday, July 12th at 7 p.m. So we are going to be teaching this live. You guys will be able to ask us questions at the end. It's going to be very interactive and it's cool because it's a live workshop, but you don't have to leave your house. So that's really cool.
Woo.
Yeah. So if you want to register, it's super easy. You just go to www.educalm.com. That's educalme.com/free workshop. So again, educalm.com/free workshop. Make sure you guys sign up right away. We don't want you to miss out on this opportunity. We are sharing our best stuff in this workshop. Okay. All right. So I hope that this episode was really useful for you guys, and it's going to be helpful to know that self-care is not selfish. Self-care is going to make you the best teacher you can possibly be. And we gave you 5 reasons, but we probably could have kept going longer. So if you think
sure.
Think about the reasons why self-care makes you a better teacher, let us know on Instagram. DM us and we'll add it to our list. You can find us on Instagram at educalm. So that's EDUCALME. So your exit ticket for today, super easy. sign up for our free workshop, educalm.com/free workshop. Go and register right now before you forget, because we know life is going to get busy.
And we can't wait to see you there.
So excited.
So excited.
So Joe, what are we up to this week at EduCalm?
So we're working on the workshop. We are also working on our summer course for EduCalm Teacher, which we'll tell you all about next week. We're also working on an EduCalm Teacher Ambassador program, and we'll also be sharing more details with you in the upcoming weeks. And just focusing on content creation for EduCalm Classroom, which will be ready in September. So exciting.
Yeah, so much fun. So many awesome projects. We're having a great time here.
So thank you so much for sharing your time with us, and have an awesome week.
Bye. Hey there, Balanced Educator. We appreciate you and the work that you're doing in the world. We are here to support you, so we've created a free resource library for you to use anytime you want. Resources for mindfulness for you and your kiddos at home or in the classroom. You can get these free resources by going to www.educalm.com/The Balanced Educator. Again, that's www.educalm, that's spelled educalme.com/The Balanced Educator. Thank you for being a part of our EduCalm community.